how I started, helping out in values education, and then I've kind of grown with that. So today, I'm not going to, it's not a training, it's, I'm just going to facilitate drawing out values from all of us and then see how we can help the children to do the same. Okay, so I'm not teaching anything, it's just a share. So we'll actually use this one. So my background is, I started out as an accountant, but then for the last, say maybe 20 years I've been teaching. But I teach young adults and teenagers. But they're all children. So and I love teaching and I never go back to accounting. It also keeps me young. So today we are going to look at the hierarchy of human values and their interrelationships, the dynamics that create and establish an environment and culture of love. Now, as you know, values don't have a hierarchy. There is nothing in the top and nothing at the bottom. But we're just going to see how we feel when we look at values. What do we think is important? What can we put right in top? So, if you were to have a hierarchy of values, I would like you to, so Vilashini, perhaps you might, because Sandy's not being part of it, perhaps you might need to join Debbie, and so Debbie has a partner. If you could just work with your partner and whatever you think should be right on the top, the most important value, let me know, and why you think that is the most important value of all the values that exist in the world. Okay? And there is no right answer, there is no wrong answer, it's just how we feel about values. So I'll give you 30 seconds. Okay, very nice.
I think yes, I would say following
Yeah.
love and
Yeah.
honesty and
Oh, the values that come along. And Debbie, what's yours?
My one would be love.
Love.
Yeah.
And why did you choose love?
Because I think that having love, and you have all the caring and the kindness and everything should come under that umbrella.
Okay.
That's all.
Yeah. And Mata, what did you and Dilachini come up with?
I'm still thinking.
Dilachini, no?
I think it's respect and loyalty.
Respect and loyalty. Yeah. So they're all correct. Values come from love. So if you were asked to have, okay, so this is a quotation I've taken from our founder. He says, love is the basic nature that sustains one and strengthens the resolve to march ahead. So love is really the basis of our character. It's what we survive on, and starting from loving ourselves, we spread it to everybody around us. And so this is our foundation. Love is very important. We need to love ourselves to be able to love anybody else. So another question for you. If you were to have a second, so we have the first level is love. If you were to have a second level, talk to your partner and let me know what you think should be the second level in the hierarchy of values and why. And you have 1 minute for that. The process is called educare, and so it's called, I don't know if you've heard of this word, probably have. Educare, it comes from the Latin word educare, which means to draw out. So the whole idea of my presentation anyway is about drawing out the values that are in us, and when we work with the teachers, it's all about drawing, with the children, it's all about drawing the values out from them, making them aware of the values so that they can practice it in there. Because we all have it, but we don't really think about it, and I don't know how often we consciously put it into practice. So it's all about being aware of what is in our heart and practicing it. So there's no prior knowledge because it's always existed. It's just that we've gone to sleep sometimes about it, so we just need a wake-up call, that's all. Right, so we had empathy, peace, and right conduct. Yeah. So all of you are right. So we have love as the basis. So what have you got under truth? Just let's only look at truth.
Oh yeah, honesty
And
discrimination.
Yeah.
And self-inquiry.
Self-inquiry, very good. Anything different that you've got under truth that you want to add? Yeah. Okay, Rachel.
We have respect,
Yeah.
loyalty, creativity, and confidence.
Yeah. Very good. And Martha.
We've got honesty, loyalty, and trust.
Right. And Martha, what have you got for right conduct?
Responsibility, making decisions, and good choices.
Yeah, very nice. And Malama? Anything in addition to this?
Independent, perseverance, confident, courageous.
Yeah, nice. And anything to add? Or is it the
Ours is
same?
the same.
It's the same. Yeah, okay. So Rachel, what have you got for peace?
Calmness, respect, and inner feelings.
Right, nice. And Martha, anything in addition?
Relax and chill.
Yeah, I like that. Chill, very nice. And Debbie, anything you would like to add to what they've
Probably just silence and connecting to nature.
silence and connecting to nature? Yeah, nice. And for peace, what do you have? Sorry, for love.
Empathy, caring, and kindness.
Empathy, caring, and kindness. And Rachel?
Sharing.
Sharing,
And compassion.
compassion. Yeah. And for non-violence?
Unity.
Unity. You can read your list.
Oh, we
You've got a long
together.
list, I see.
And caring for the environment.
Yeah, nice. And what about your environment?
Collaboration, teamwork, is it? Working collaboratively.
Yeah.
And unity.
Right.
Unity, respect all cultures and features, and family base.
Yeah, very nice. So you've got the answers, I don't need to give you any answers. So these are basically you got them in the right place under the right value. Have you all met Dr. Palda, who came from Australia? Yeah. So he has he's written quite a few books on values education, and I took a table from his book, which is very similar to what you all have got. So, how do we express love in speech? Okay, maybe talk to your partner and see how you express love in speech, which value? Love in action, which value? Love in thought is which value? And love as understanding is which value? When I say which value, I mean the main 5 values. So try and relate the main 5 values to love, to the different parts of our body or our personality.
Truth.
Love in speech is truth. And Debbie and Sandy, love in action is
Right conduct.
right conduct. And Vilashini and Mata, love in thought is yes. Big test. And anybody, love as understanding is non-violence. Yeah. Very good. You can have a sweet. So these are how. So when I say it's the foundation, you can see how it is the foundation because it's expressed tangible. It exists everywhere all the time. It's an energy. It permeates all life. It's in us. It's around us. It's everywhere. It's the undercurrent of all the values. It holds up all the values. And I say HV means human values. Human values are not abstract concepts. They are not things that are flying in the air or just an idea, but they're actually something that you can give and then you receive. So when I say transactional, it's, when you show love to others, naturally they will show love to you. When you respect others, they respect you. So it's kind of a give and take. We don't do it just to get it back. we just do it naturally, we also get it back naturally. So it's something that can be interacted with. And it's sacred and it's sustaining. So whatever your beliefs are, this is the core, the beliefs are the values. And it's instrumental in uplifting the individual and the society. So if we have values in the society will be a great place to live in. And today's world, we can see around us, when you just watch news. I don't know if you guys watch news. People say don't watch news because it's depressing. But sometimes we also need to know what's happening, and I do it as an exercise with my students. They watch news and then we discuss it. So it's got the good and bad. Unfortunately, we very rarely hear good news. They like to show the bad news. However, we do know that the world is in a difficult situation now, and the only way that we can change is first by changing ourselves, being a role model to the children that we work with, and then helping the children to practice these values in their daily life. So starting with love, it is, it's the most important one. What? That has described the human body, the gross body, that means the physical body, and the subtle. Subtle is what we cannot see, into 5 kind of layers. So you can see number 1 is our body is made of the food we eat and the water and the juices and the drinks that we have. So that's called the food sheet. And the second one is called the vital air. That's, when we leave our body, the last thing to go is the last breath. So the life force in us is important. Mental sheet is made of our thoughts. Intellectual sheet is our intuition, our wisdom, sort of like a higher consciousness or higher thoughts. And then when we overcome all this, the final one is total happiness. So this is one school of thought that they describe the human personality as having 5 shades. Then we have another school of thought. They have 5 levels of thought. We call the physical domain, the intellectual domain, emotional domain, social domain, and the spiritual domain of a human being. So the sheets I showed you first are roughly equivalent to the various personality domains described by psychologists. So what I would like to do is, before I give you my interpretation of this, is see what you understand by the personality domains. So these are the personality domains. I'll give you the 5 personality domains. I'll give you body parts of a child, or you have the 5 human values and situational values already with you, and I would like you to match the values and the personality domains to the different body parts of the child and see how they are connected. Once again, it is your opinion and your understanding, and then we can discuss it and see how we all agree and in our understanding. So I'll give you some poster paper. So you share with us how you related the domain, the main value, and the situational value, how we call it the related value, with the body part. Why do you think they match? What happens in the domain, in your opinion?
Okay, so we go left.
Piece of the head, the mahua, the peace, and the truth, speaking the truth with your waha, with your notas, and love, of course, of your heart.
And how did the domain go? The intellectual domain, where is it going? To the head? Matching the head?
Yes.
Yeah.
calmness. It's all about thinking and cognitive thinking. And the spiritual domain is also applying the head and the mouth. And in the right conduct, we have pointed out to the arms, taking responsibility. And social domain is where the right conduct with the arm is as well.
So what did you understand by the social domain?
Is that the social skills and things?
Yeah.
Communication
Yeah.
and connection?
Yeah.
Or if not verbally?
Yeah.
Or
Non-verbal.
non-verbal. Got the word.
And for our non-violence, we put it down at the feet and unity. And for physical domain, that's like children with their hands, their actions.
With the actions. So physical domain relates to the actions. Yeah. So others are well.
So we've done something similar to virtual and Phenomena. So we just got a bit stuck with the domains, but anyway, we'll just go with it. We also did peace for the head, truth for the mouth, love, heart, right conduct for our hands, and non-violence down by the feet. We put emotional and intellectual with our peace in our head because we think it. What do you say?
Actually needs some help.
Intellectual, like we're thinking that's about the mind, the brain, and same with emotional. That also links with the mind and the brain. With truth, we
What's the
did,
difference between the mind and the brain?
the brain is there physically, and the mind is your thought.
Yeah, so mind's made up of thoughts.
Thoughts,
Yeah.
So all the thoughts in here is the only way that sets your emotions.
Mind is not a physical thing, yeah?
No,
It's
just
just
your emotions. So
made
your
up of
emotions, like they may, whether you're gonna cry or laugh or have,
brain is
it's
that.
like, just the brain.
And what does mind do?
Mind, we think.
Yeah, mind thinks.
Yeah.
There's nothing
Before we.
You cannot operate the mind. You can operate the brain.
Brain.
Yeah. So there's nothing. The mind doesn't exist. It only exists in our mind.
We did the social domain for truth because we're thinking more on communication and under that one and friendships. So that will come with the mouth.
With the mouth, by the way you speak.
The way you speak, yeah. Love, we put spiritual because we thought that spiritual is a whole body and love is encompasses everything. Right conduct, with our hands, the right actions, the helpful hands. Physical domain, it's on the feet, but it's also the whole body. Yeah. Not punching.
So the non-violence is in the feet.
Yes.
How do you understand that?
We are thinking more like respecting. I don't know the feet is, but more like it's the whole thing. Yeah.
It's like respecting your body.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Any questions? This is your time to.
Oh, where's our body?
God is behind us. It's very similar.
Hi, baby. How you know?
Okay, maybe mine's quite similar to everybody else's. I think for me, the spiritual domain, I would probably look at the truth of the child, what comes out and what goes into their brain, what they learn. But I also put spiritual for both, like the love and the heart. The intellectual one is the same as everybody else, is the calmness when a child is just sitting there thinking about, you know, what they're going to learn, knowledge and everything around them. The emotional domain, I think that covers with the love, because that's who they are. And the love for me is their whānau, because what they have at home reflects on the child themselves. So that's where I would look at this one here. The non-violence with the social domain is the hands, because everything they do and learn is with their hands. And so everything from the top goes to here and their knees. Yeah. The right conduct, we put it down here because of the feet. Everywhere the child goes and everything, their surroundings, their environment actually affects them. So everything they see, they hear, affects them. So that's what I also look like on the social domain as the child. So everything as the child is this whole body here. It's not just these little parts, everything comes together. And so that's why, that's how I see this whole child. I'm Freddie. So, but yeah, I'm looking at like everything with the child, all these domains of that is with who the child is from where they come, from their whānau, the background. So everything that they have, their values in that, is shown in their whole upbringing, their body and their hands. So yeah, that's my one. Any questions? No, thank you.
Give us a moment to absorb.
Did I just like, you know?
I think with Freddie, I just related to a child's behavior. So if you have a child that's stomping and you want to try and understand that child, so you reflect, you come back and look at the feeling. What is the child feeling? So it's like emotional. Where is his heart at? And then, so he's stomping. The social domain is how is he going to react? Is he hurting a child? Like the biting or the, you know, the pushing and all that. So it's getting translated from here. And then this is the intellect. Well, what is he thinking? Is he in a peaceful place? Or is he in a calm place? What is causing him to be stomping? And then the spiritual domain is there's some truth in him that's upsetted him. Somebody snatched a toy from him, and so that's all that step by step is translating into this physical domain. Because what happens sometimes is we are focusing on that, and then if we go to all the different domains, it helps us to understand the child and then find a solution to help the child out, or even a teacher or our colleagues.
So you feel truth relates to the spiritual domain by
Yes.
being able to express himself.
Express themselves verbally or through gestures or through sounds. Some child is in agony because a lot of our 2-year-olds, the vocab's small, so it's not through speech but it's through sound.
All right.
Yeah. And
Facial expression.
facial expressions.
Yeah. Any questions? Swati, you can ask questions. Rashmi? Don't want to put them on.
But they're quite similar to everybody else.
Yeah, right conduct is all about taking responsibility for your actions and believing or understanding that actions actually have consequences. So you can't just react or you can't go on your impulses, but you really need to think before you act. So we would say respond rather than react. Yeah. I believe only animals are supposed to react and not human beings. But we do often react, don't we? And we don't really respond. So that's something that we all need to work on. So we need to facilitate the children to understand the importance of responding. So how do we do that? How do we help the children to respond rather than react? How do we facilitate that process? Tone of voice. Yeah? Okay. Any other ways?
I think the teachers are not clear where when they've seen a child who's reacted, so they pull the child and say, have you made a good choice or a bad choice? How are you feeling? That person's actually feeling very sad about it.
Yeah.
How are we going to stop and think, like seeing the child they do it really well?
So think about it.
Yeah.
Think about it. And when you actually stop them and ask them to think about it, and not, sometimes I'm not saying you guys do it, but in some other situations you do, and even I know sometimes when the whole class is a mess and loud, and I can feel myself getting a bit worked up, and I say, okay, keep quiet or sit down or stop talking. Very tempting to say that, and then I just have to remind myself, okay, just calm down, because that reflects negatively on the students too. So as adults, just for us to observe what is going, just take a step back and observe what's happening in our mind. Are we losing it? You can feel yourself getting worked up. So if you can just take a step back mentally and observe yourself, then you respond and you don't react. So quite often in the classroom, one thing I do is every morning before I go to school, I visualize my class with the children and I send them love. And I visualize a happy class, and I actually find that has been very helpful for me, because especially those days I find that I have a wonderful class. Some days we have a great lesson and some days something you could have done better. But when I visualize, send my love, and think of them as happy and interactive, because I always try to make my classes as interactive. A normal class would be like this, I just get them to do all the work and then I just guide them. So that works for me. So this is maybe something that you do, or you might want to try, and help them to just observe what they're going to do or what they have done, which helps them, because then in the future they will start observing their mind before they do something. Aware of what's going inside within you. It's been an age-old question. We ask ourselves, where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we doing here? What are our goals? And the children have the same questions. So it's an inner conversation that goes on. And so to be aware of sort of going within and listening to yourself, that's one of the main purposes of silent sitting. And you all do silent sitting every day, right? Yeah. Do you find that it helps? Yeah. So one of the purposes of silent sitting is to be self-aware, or in other words, just to go within and listen to oneself. So listening to oneself and time out, I suppose. Do you call it time out? To think about the action? Yeah. Is it time out, or do you call it? Those days it used to be time out. I'm working like I have a community project that I'm involved in on a Sunday, and we've been working with little kids from the age of 5, and now they're about 14, and they've been doing this for the last 10 years or 9 years, and they really appreciate the silent sitting, because they say like they didn't appreciate it when they were 4 years old and 5 years old. It was like a real news. Okay, Auntie Prinny now goes again, but I'm very strict with silent sitting. Everybody has to say it. If they don't, I talk to the parents, I talk to the kid, and I really push it hard. But when they are a few years older, they come back and they say, oh, we really enjoy silent sitting. That's the best part of the whole lesson. And a 14-year-old saying that is really rewarding, and they go and talk to their friends about it. And this boy said, oh, I told my friends about silent sitting, and they do. And this 14-year-old, he said, I can now see the change in my friends. So I thought that was really good feedback. So knowing one's feelings and inner motivations, and expressing oneself with 3H means heart, head, and hands. So when we do something, what our heart feels, or what our head says, and what our hand does, there should be harmony. So that again is through introspection, where you think, okay, now am I doing and saying what I'm actually feeling? There needs to be this harmony, and that's what again we need to facilitate in the children, to have harmony of thought, word, and deed, and you become saying one thing and feeling something completely different. And so once we know the state of our mind, when I say state of our mind, how we are feeling, when we are connected with our conscience, listen to our conscience, to the voice, the little voice in our head, which is always generally telling us the right thing to do. You know how we have a voice that says, don't do it, it's not so good, and another voice saying, oh, it doesn't matter, let me eat that ice cream, one more time. I had one in the morning, but lunchtime let me have another one. And other one says, no, you've already had one, so which one do you listen to? Okay? But we know within us that we shouldn't, because maybe we are diabetic or whatever situation. So that our conscience will always, that voice within will always give us the right answer. So we need to listen to that conscience. And then we can make informed choices once we are in touch with our inner self. So here I have discrimination, as I say, to be able to discriminate what is good and what is not good. Listen to our conscience. Even when they're doing a test, I notice with students, the first answer they choose is usually right. And unfortunately, often they doubt themselves and they cross it off and go to another second one, and the second one is usually wrong. Yeah. So quite often I have found that with testing that the second one is wrong. So you're almost, there's a guiding you that guides you, and then when you try to overanalyze it. Happy with what you did, yeah? Malama, you were saying something? No? Anyone else?
Acceptance, yeah, and satisfied.
Yeah, acceptance and satisfaction. Yeah. So yeah, so it's this inner peace, I guess. Yeah, calmness, relax, cool. Yeah, chill out. So contentment is really it's just being calm and satisfied. Yeah. So COD. Okay, so something that really affects our contentment is, what's the opposite of contentment? Okay, another one?
Wanting all the time, wanting this and wanting that.
Dissatisfied.
Dissatisfied?
No.
Not happy? So what makes us not happy? What makes us not happy? Unhappy?
We don't get what we want.
When we don't get what we want. Example, Lulashi?
Okay. It's like I want this lolly, but I can't. Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah. So, okay, so Vilashini, you want this lolly. Okay, I give you the lolly, right? Take a lolly, please. Okay, so you eat that, and then after about 10 minutes, I say, okay, it's tea time. So what are you going to do? Tell us scones, you're going to take that too? Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then lunchtime, okay. Sandy brings a pizza maybe.
Yeah.
And so you're going to have the pizza. So you're satisfied for the moment, and then again dissatisfied within a half an hour or 1 hour. I remember last weekend my sister-in-law made this chocolate biscuit pudding, which is my favorite. I had it for breakfast, I had it for lunch, and I had it for dinner. And for 2 days, and I didn't even share it with my husband. Luckily, he doesn't like sweets, so I don't feel guilty about not sharing sweets with him. And unluckily for me, I put on here. So, but then I thought, oh my God, I'm so greedy. I want breakfast. I can't look at it. I need to eat it. So this is affecting my contentment because I'm feeling guilty, and I know I'm putting on weight when I'm trying to lose weight. And so that is COD is sealing on desires. We do have desires, and I guess we cannot live without desires. Sometimes desires motivate us to achieve our goals, so there is the negative and the positive side of it, but we need to control it in an intelligent way. So, and the desires come in many forms. It can be money, it could be food, it could be, resources. And so, when we say controlling our desires, how do we spend our money? How do we spend our time? What are our eating habits? What are our resources? I mean, we have a huge problem in the world with resources. So we really have to develop the children's understanding of looking after the resources. And in New Zealand, we are lucky, we have water. One day water is going to be like petrol. It will be the petrol of the world. So we need to look after this and not just, waste it. So children need to understand that resources are, we are going, the population is increasing and resources are decreasing. So how do we look? You must be having recycling system here, yeah? Yeah, I think New Zealand is doing fairly well, but at the same time, I think in New Zealand we recycle the plastic and glass and all that. I really don't know. I've heard stories that it doesn't really get recycled in the way that we hope. So we have to really cut down on plastics and even clothes. I was surprised. I was reading, and it's manifest through all the domains. However, we are focusing here as love is manifested to the social domain as well as all the other domains, and it manifests in the psychic domain, and the competency is the social skills. And I think you had the same idea that love manifests through social skills. So social skills is how we deal with each other, with our family, with our friends and neighbors and strangers too. So how do we handle relationships? So to help the children to be, to have these values where they can work in a team, work in cooperation with each other and manage their social skills. And first and foremost, I think they need to love themselves. They need to feel loved. When they feel they are loved, they will learn to love themselves. If you don't love yourself, you can't love somebody else. So, very important to make them feel valued, that they are unique, and that they are okay as they are. And that's where the love comes in. Are you allowed to give hugs to your children? Are you allowed to give hugs to the children? In the primary school, we went to Stanhope Primary School, and we had values classes for almost 2 years in the primary school, so it integrated into the normal curriculum too. And but they said no hugging kids, yeah. So there was a rule. So I think a lot of schools, but with preschools.
I would wait for a child to come to me.
Yeah,
for a hug.
of course,
But
yeah.
if a child is upset,
Then you're
then
allowed to
I
hug.
will
Not a hug like
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
Just
It
put
would
your
be
arm
like-
around. Yeah.
a shoulder.
Yeah, yeah. And there are reasons, that they're bringing these
Yeah.
policies. I understand that. However, when we grew up, we didn't have those things. We just give
There's
hug.
2 girls here that they're auntie and niece, and they have to give each one of us a hug before they go home.
Oh, right.
Like, the 2 women.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
So
it's
it makes me think, like, what else is happening that they're wanting to give the teacher that kind of hug.
hug before they go. Yeah, I know.
Probably discipline at home as well, like their family follow them.
Do you think it's a discipline at home? Do you think it's coming from there?
There must be a lot of things happening at home.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or it could be.
Could be anything, and
Yeah.
it's not for us to.
They like
Yeah.
being here. They like where they are.
Yeah. And even as an adult, when a child or anybody gives a hug, there's something happens within you, isn't it? Yeah, it sort of makes you
fuzzy feeling.
more fuzzy feeling.
Like if in the playground one hurts the other, then you like explain to the other, what happened.
Yeah.
And how do you think this one feels?
Yeah.
And then I ended with like a handshake if it's boys.
Yeah. Oh, really?
or a hug. But
Yeah.
then when you say the word hug, they like drop the shoulders, like, you know. So I'm like, what do I do next? Like, so I just go, okay, shake hands if you want to, or you give a high five or
Yeah.
a hug.
Whatever they come
Give a
to.
choice.
So
Yeah.
some, you
Yeah.
can tell some children
Yeah.
are huggable,
Mm.
and some just like to shake hands.
Yeah.
and high five.
Yeah. Could be sometimes even cultural too, isn't
Yes,
it?
yeah.
Yourself in another person's shoes, as they say. You really, very often, when someone comes to you with a problem, we tend to say, at least I tend to say, yeah, I know how you feel. But actually, I don't know why I say that, because that person's probably thinking, no, you don't know. We don't know how the other person feels, but it just with me it seems to come automatically, and now I observe that thought and that the word process, and I step back and I say, no, I don't know how you're feeling, but I'm trying to understand. So empathy is really putting yourself in that person's situation, while sympathy is just feeling sorry for them. And so for the children to be able to look at it from, as you give an example, if this happens to you, how will you feel? Or if someone hit you or took your book, how will you feel? And the ability to listen. And this is ability that not many of us have, the ability to listen. When someone's talking to us, we are formulating an answer, so we lose that moment of listening. Or I'm sure some of you are thinking, oh, when is this lady going to stop? I need my cup of tea, and you're welcome to think. You're welcome to think, because I've gone over time, and I'm sorry, I'm going to stop very soon. So, but we're always thinking, isn't it? Our mind is always thinking, and that is actually, it's not the job of the mind, but we let the mind do that because we are not able to control our thoughts. So listening is something that would be nice if we can develop that in children, to listen to the others. Because from childhood, if you have been given that discipline, then when you're an adult, it comes naturally to you. I always tell my students, like sometimes when I'm teaching them, they might get distracted and have a conversation. And I don't mind occasionally, but if they do it regularly, then I say, oh, unfortunately, we have a rule there, like that even cell phones. So sometimes I can see the cell phone under the table, and I know that it's Facebook or chatting when the finger goes up, not like they're using it for a dictionary. And so I have a picture of the cell phone with a cross, and then I don't want to embarrass, I just tap on that, and it really works well. So you also have that issue. So I tell them the reason is you lose that learning moment when you're distracted. So when we are listening to, when our mind starts wandering, we've lost the trend of that problem. So it's something, it's nice to be able to teach the children to listen.
You have lots of positive thoughts, you feel nice at the end of the day. So when you're stressed and you're having negative thoughts at the end of the day, you feel a bit drained. Especially if a long day at work, if you're not having a good day at work, then lots of thoughts go on in our head. The first step is to be aware of our thoughts, see what's going on in our head. But it's actually been proved that thought is an energy. So it's the energy of thought, whether it's positive or negative, reaches the other person. So we have to be really careful of what we think, especially when you're working with children, because what we think, it really influences the children. So if you're thinking positive and if you've got a good frame of mind, it definitely influences the children's behavior. And if you're stressed and if you don't feel like being at work, and that definitely affects the children as well. So it is very important. So that's why each person has an energy field depending upon the thoughts which we have, and it's called an aura. And we can scientifically we can measure our own aura now. It depends on the thoughts which we have.
I think that's really important, and I think you answered the question. In the mornings, we have a staff curriculum,
Yeah.
So it's like we've been hurrying and bustling and getting
That's
our kids
right.
to school and all that.
Yeah.
So we come with all different energies,
Energy,
good
yeah.
energies.
Yeah.
But then when we have the staff
That's
karakia or our silent sitting or light meditation, we're actually bringing our thoughts together and
Definitely.
how we're going to work together for
That's
for the day. Yeah.
And even now, having just a moment of silence, it helps us to focus our thoughts, calms us down, and helps us to be in the present, like how we discussed in the morning, being mindful, being in the present. So our thoughts are very important. Then good character and finally a good destiny. So it all starts with thoughts. So we'll have to really think wisely, because what we think will manifest. You want to just patient. Just think of an incident which happened recently this week, where a child was disruptive in class or demonstrated any behavior which wasn't the right according to you. Like what thoughts went through in your mind? Like what were you thinking when you were dealing with that situation? Can we just share for a minute, and then you can.
Or our group.
Yeah.
So I was even.
There was this one child that doesn't listen and just kind of does its own thing.
Yeah.
So the first thought that comes into our mind is like we're just angry. It's like, oh my God, why is he doing this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what.
Sure. Oh, this is Morning Star. So I put Morning Star.
Yeah.
Morning Star was like not listening. He's forever talking to the person, no matter where you move him in our circle, or this was singing time. And Morning Star was doing the same thing again and again and again and again.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, that's enough. So I took him and I made him sit down there. There's a teacher by the computer.
Yeah.
And so he sat there until children transitioned to wash their hands to have their kai. So there was no movement. Everyone was at the table and nothing to happen. And spoke to him like the reason why I put him there, that he's safe there, but I wanted him to think about why I put him there. And then we called it truth. So. Like you could tell by his expression on the face that what I said, why I put him there, like being firm with him, and then I brought him back. That I'm not a what do you call it? I'm not a monster. Putting him in.
Yeah, just like the potter example this morning, I really liked it with love and discipline. So you have to discipline the child, but you have the good intention of teaching him. Like you were mad at him or
So
you just wanted to teach him.
So the thought of firm, fair, and soothing, came to mind on how to deal with it. So even though I'm still leading my circle, I'm still thinking of how I'm going to deal with this child that I feel bad putting me over there, but I put him there for a reason, and I'm going to bring him back.
Debbie, did you discuss with? Are you prepared?
Okay, we just have our little boy, Casey, he's lovely. But we know that every morning he's always throwing all the Lego outside. For me, I find that even though it comes off as a negative behaviour, the thing is we have to stop and talk to him, but also slow down, because I know that if you come across really negative to him, he'll start really throwing everything out. So what I've done is I realised that he likes cars and that, so we'll go walk down together down to the storage to get a car, and then he'll just start rolling with it everywhere. So I think it's always trying to find a solution or a strategy to make that moment better for the child, because sometimes they just go through something as a 2-year-old, they just start throwing things. So I think probably to slow down, but calm and talk.
That's right.
not in a, yeah. Because I think children pick up on your voice, your tone of voice it speaks louder than words, to be honest. Yeah. And it definitely shows if, if I came across really thin to him, then he'll know.
Yeah.
And then he'll start wanting to go throw something else. So that's one of the things that I picked up on him. So that's the thing, is to try and have a strategy of how to turn that situation and what they do.
That's right. So when a child demonstrates a disruptive behavior or aggressive behavior, sometimes as teachers we get caught up in that moment. So it's really important to respond, not to react. I think we have to keep reminding ourselves as teachers that we have to respond, not react. Because once we get caught up in the moment, if we get irritated, agitated, or angry, then we won't be able to respond in a positive way. So and even later on, when in the staff room we're having a cup of tea, what we tend to do is we tend to discuss the children's negative behavior. We say, oh, he was so disruptive at that time or circle time, or that child was throwing things like that he shouldn't be doing that. We tend to talk about children's negative behavior much more than the positive behavior which they display. So, and that again, like that's going on in our head, and that energy radiates out to the child, and then that's not going to help the child to improve his behavior. So how can we handle the situation in the positive ways, like how you've discussed? Like have solution-based conversation, like how can you turn it around if a child is being disruptive? Is he interested in something else? Can I get something from the storeroom, involve him in something? Or does he like being given responsibilities? Like some children like taking the role of a leader, like they like to set things up. Or how can you focus his energy in a positive way? Just having solution-based conversation. And how can we help him to learn the desired behavior? Like as teachers, you come up with the desired behavior you want for the child and work towards it. So in that way, you're thinking positive, you're thinking to help the child out instead of getting irritated or angry at the disruptive behavior. And participates really well. Or something, a small affirmation for the child. What do you want him to do next week? If you want to do that, just come up with like just one child and an affirmation which you want to create for the child.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Just once he sees a child or something that he really likes, just get up, even though he's got food in his hand, and just go.
It could be the child's physical development, their own growth. So maybe it just depends on.
As teachers, as long as you're having positive thoughts for the child, I think that's more important. The child will take their own time to develop. And this positive thinking, it can be useful for the teachers as well. Even at the end of the day, when you're feeling really tired, if you're feeling tired, I keep saying myself, I'm really fresh, I'm energetic. Just thinking that makes me feel fresh and energetic instead of just saying, oh, it's been such a long day, it's been a busy day, it's not been a good day. That puts your energy level goes down. And I use it all the time, even with my health. I've injured my neck at work, my CT junction. I'm going for physio now. It was really painful the first few weeks, but I kept saying my neck is fine, it's fine. Like, instead of concentrating on the pain, think of something which you really want to happen. And keep saying fine, and then your body heals better. It heals better. I use it all the time, even when I had a flu and stuff. I keep saying my mantras. I keep saying my body and mind are perfectly healthy. I keep saying that. And I feel my body recovers much quickly. Instead of just focusing on your illness and feeling down, you give a mind a positive thought to think on, because mind has to think. It's like water flowing, you can't stop it. So if you give a positive thought, the mind thinks a different way, or always it dwells on the negative thing. It could be sickness, it could be at the end of the day being tired, or it could be a child's negative behavior. So it's just focusing on ourselves and seeing what thoughts go in your mind. So what I do is during the day, whenever I go to the Faripaku, when I go to the toilet, that's the time when I think what I'm thinking. Otherwise, it's hard when you're on the floor with the children, you're busy, engaged, you're doing things with the children. So my colleagues asked me to do a poster for the bathroom. I'm working on it now. They said, when you sit there, it's like, are you having good positive thoughts? Or if not, can you change it and convert it to something positive? So it's just take a moment. It's hard when you're on the floor with the children. Sometimes you get caught up in that moment. So when you just have a moment, when you're in your lunch break or when you go to the restroom or something, just take a moment to think, what am I thinking now? How am I feeling? So because if you're feeling great, if you're feeling good, the children will be feeling good too. So they'll definitely absorb what you're feeling. So that's really important as teachers to constantly know what you're thinking and feeling. That's it from me. just a small so we've got that on kites, and then we've got photos of children displaying it, and we talk about it at mat time or during the day as well. Great, you've been a great friend, you're showing manakitang. I'm sure you'll be doing that here as well. So in that way, the children are hearing those words, like they have to be kind, they have to be respectful, and we want them to make choices, and we buddy them up. Do you do that here as well, older children with the younger ones? Yeah. Like for example, with Morning Star, if older child can just role model how to sit, try different ways, see if it works, and say, hey, can you look after Morning Star today and make sure he sits nicely? Sometimes he doesn't respond to adults, he might respond well to another child. So something which you can think about, and even if you see children demonstrating that during the day, you can take photos and talk about it at circle times. They really like seeing themselves on TV, or we do that at the end of the day. We've got photos and we put it on the TV. We've got a TV, don't have a screen, and then they watch themselves and they're really proud when they see themselves on TV. I'm making a pattern. So she sat there for so long and made a beautiful pattern. And they were talking about the patterns and the colors and something.
Speak truth, speak love, speak righteousness, speak peace, speak loving kindness. Think truth, think love, think righteousness, think peace, think loving kindness. Do truth, do love, do righteousness, do peace, do loving kindness. Speak truth, speak love, speak righteousness, speak peace, speak loving kindness. Come side, think love, think righteousness, think peace, speak loving kindness. Come side, shine through righteousness, do peace, do loving kindness. Come side, shine through